Well, welcome to the lovely ladies of late night. We are here for our seventh edition. Hello, ladies.
Hello.
Yeah. I missed you guys. I am so glad to see you in the studio, in the space, and in the place. Today, we have a phenomenal guest that is going to be a part of our show. His name is the Master Barber, the owner of Larry's Barber College. What a phenomenal man. He's doing great things in Illinois and all across America. Through his nonprofit organization and Data Foundation, Mr. Roberts addresses the plight of homelessness of youth, military veterans, and men that are incarcerated in Chicago. He's been making a difference in the community for over 30 years of business and leadership. And I am so privileged and honored to have him be a part of the show. Hello, Larry Roberts. How are you?
Hi, I'm good, and you? Thank you for having me on.
We are excited about your commitment to excellence, your commitment to health and safety, and just helping people. Because if everybody has the right persona and they're looking good, they feel good, and they can make strides toward sustainability and moving forward in life. And I really think that's a good thing that you're doing. And
Thank you so much.
it really spoke to my heart that you care enough to go into our prison system where some people won't even go visit their own relatives and help people look wonderful. It's a good thing.
Thank you.
So I'm excited to hear this interview. We're going to turn this over to our White House leader, Angie, and let her and let her do this wonderful interview with you.
Well, Larry, welcome to the lovely ladies of late night. I really appreciate you taking the time to grace us with your presence. And, I'm so proud of you. You're my nephew. You're my adopted nephew. So I'm really happy that you decided to come on the show. And there's so many good things that you have going on. And Sean kind of stole my thunder because I wanted to do this really big introduction because I'm so proud of everything that you're doing in the community. So it really is an honor to really introduce you. And through your non-for-profit organization, the Data Foundation, you are doing such amazing work with the youth and homelessness, the homeless communities all over Illinois. And then you have all these Larry's Barber colleges. So I want to start by pointing out the fact that for the past 11 years, you have been in the county, have an office at the county. So talk to us about that.
So I kind of decided. People ask me, why did I decide to go to the jail? And I think that a lot of times we, work within our four walls and we talk about the people on the outside, but not really understanding the need. So, because I have school on the 79th Street, the 9 is what they call it, and the Wild Hundreds, I have schools, and I see what go on a day-to-day basis. So, people think that everybody locked up are bad people, and everybody that's locked up in jail are bad people. They just kind of made some mistakes, and they
Right.
just need another opportunity to do something different. So I had
Mhm.
an idea. I was like, man, let me take my barber school inside of the jail for the men and women. So that way, I can train them and give them their certifications there. So now when they walk out of jail, they'll be able to go right to work and be self-sufficient. So it seems to be working, which allowed me to go into, the Illinois Department of Juvenile Justice. So I'm in a couple of those locations as well. And I do it all for free. You know what I'm saying? It costs
Wow.
$15,000 on the outside, but I do it for free because I think that my reward to come later on down the line. But I think
Absolutely.
in a lot of cases, if we always have our hand out, we won't have the opportunity to kind of, get accomplished what needs to get accomplished. So
Right. Right.
Larry,
Absolutely.
can I ask you something? How easy was it to collaborate with the Illinois Department of Corrections to kind of get this to happen?
well, it was easy because I'm who I am.
Come on,
uh,
somebody.
Don't
Well,
finish.
well now,
so
my bad.
Are
Okay.
you
so
are you Mr. Platinum?
so my reputation kind of speaks for myself. I've been cutting hair now for 35 years. I opened up my first shop when I was 19. So being a celebrity barber since a teenager and kind of doing all of the things I do and just kind of the way I carry myself. I talk about gift and character all the time. I tell people you have to be careful that you don't allow your gift to take you someplace that your character can't handle. So I always try to
Right.
be very upstanding and very straightforward. And I was able to go in there, go in there and tell them, what I wanted, why I wanted it, and what sense it would make for me to have it. And they had no other choice but to say, hey, come on, let's do it. You know what I'm saying? So
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow,
that's pretty
that's
much how that
amazing.
happened. And again, I went in surrenderance, not with my hands open saying, hey, I want to put my barber school in here, but y'all got to pay me. The bigger picture is the fact that I made history by being the first and only person to open up a barber school inside of a penal institution. And then on top of that, like I have my own office, I license it. The whole compound is licensed. I dictate everything. So it opens up the door for me to be able to, do interviews and things like this with you guys and with other people and let people know that, hey, we need donations. We need money to do the things that we do because it's like a circle. When they get out of jail, if they don't finish, then they can finish with me on the outside. And then they need somewhere to live. I'm the only barber school to have dormitory housing. So they can live on campus while they go to school at my barber schools.
That's wonderful.
I have transportation. So if they need transportation, because Data Foundation deals with mentoring, life skills, mental health, substance abuse, because I feel like you can't give them this wonderful trade and their character don't align with their gift. So, in some cases, they have great jobs, but you haven't dealt with their mental capacity. You haven't dealt with, a lot of the young men and women, they don't know their dads. They had bad situations with their moms or just kind of, bad. They had bad situations growing up. So there are so many other things you have to deal with, the extra baggage in order to help them to succeed. So I kind of make all of it inclusive to what it takes to be successful in this industry.
Nice. I'm so glad I heard you say mental health, because as a mental health professional, I deal with so many people who come into my job as a crisis intervention specialist who were incarcerated, who were perfectly medicated and had those services while they were incarcerated, and then they're let go, and that piece doesn't follow. And it's so good to hear that you're actually addressing that piece, because for a lot of individuals, that's a big piece of the puzzle that matters, so they don't become a revolving door, or we don't see recidivism. So thank you so much for adding the fact that you address mental health. I so appreciate that.
And we have a question. Someone asked, Monique asked, is this program anywhere outside of Illinois?
So I have a school, and I had a school in Texas, and I had a school in Memphis, Tennessee. But it's a little bit more difficult when you have partners trying to help you to run these programs. So I know I'm licensed in over 22 states. I'm master licensed, so I'm actually preparing to open up in other states outside of Illinois. But most of my schools are in Illinois right now. But Peoria, Joliet. I know she was going to ask me how many schools that I had, but most of them are in Illinois right now in the penal institutions.
That's
Wonderful. Wonderful. Yeah, you've been doing this for over 30 years. So I'm very impressed by your work, Larry. You recently just received an award. Tell us about that.
No.
Okay, so I was just talking to Maya about traveling all over the world. I play drums and keyboards professionally. So the award that I received basically was an achievement for a group who I literally have traveled many places overseas with a particular group, and they gave me an award, for the accomplishments, not only, being a musician, but also for the things that, I've done in the hair care industry, which is a $300 billion industry. And they just kind of wanted to reward me for that. And I was very excited and proud for that award that I received.
Awesome. And to piggyback on that, Larry mentioned that he does this for free. He also failed to mention that he actually spends his own money to actually, provide some of the things for the ladies that are in the jails, like the, edge control, things for their hair. He does that with his own money.
Wow.
So it's really important for people to understand that we must fund these kind of programs, because he's doing such huge things in the community, and he's doing it on his own dollars. So Larry, we really are here to support you. We're going to definitely talk about making sure that we get some funding for you. But I have a few more questions. I want you to talk about what you have new going on with Walmart.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I got a call from Walmart. Woohoo. Very exciting.
Walmart.
Big money.
very exciting. You figure Walmart last year made probably over $500 billion, you know, and I'm honored that they will call me and ask me to be not only in one of their locations, but I have 2 locations that I'll be opening up in,
Wow.
and there are some more that's actually
Nice.
coming. So when I open up inside of there, I'm going to try and do my best to be the model that as an African American, I want to be the model to show them that we can have these types of businesses because, you know, do any one of you guys know what the red, white, and blue barber pole stand for?
No.
You know, the barber pole is something else? Okay. So
Right.
the red stand for blood, the blue is for veins, the white is for bandages. The ball on the bottom is called a bassin. Well,
Yes.
we used to be doctors back in the day, doctors and dentists.
Right.
It was later on in the 1800s when they separated the professions. So my professional name is a tonsorial artist. Then you have a doctor, you have a dentist. So we have to learn about electricity and light therapy, bacteriology. They try to say that we were non-essential, but we are. We have to learn about infection control, sanitation,
Right. True.
disinfection. So all of this
Yeah.
stuff with COVID, we know about all of this. We have to learn about HIV, AIDS, malaria, hepatitis. We have to learn about the cranium, blood, all of these things, pathogens. We have to learn all of these things. So, but a lot of people don't know that because of our postures inside of the shop. You know, because of the music we play, because of the language we use, because there's no uniformity. You know, guys smoking weed on lunch and, you know, whatever that looks like, you know, and it's not to judge anybody, but there's a time and there's a place for everything. So, you know, they don't even know how to greet, you know, people when they come through the door, you know, adults. Good morning, sir. Good morning, ma'am. How are you? May I help you? You know, so it's just like cracking. They make a lot of money, but they don't pay taxes properly. They don't have insurance. They don't do things that deem us as professionals. So when people say, hey, you think the industry is oversaturated? No, I don't, because not many people like me started at 4 o'clock in the morning cutting hair and would cut 25 to 38 heads every day. I did that full time, 4 o'clock in the morning. And I would do that sometimes from 4 a.m. to 9 or 10 o'clock at night. You know what I'm saying? So I was definitely dedicated to what it is I do, you know, and I believe that's why
Larry,
God allowed me to get where I am, you know, right now.
I want to say I think there's a shift in the culture, because I remember as a little girl going to the barber shop with my grandfather. And I remember there being this culture of talking about relevant topics, and that work ethic that you talked about, it was present at that time. So somehow I think that's been lost in translation, but it's so good to know that someone like you is trying to reinstill those values in current and future individuals who want to be involved in the trade, because at one point it was there, but it got lost along the way.
Yeah, that's because everything is so microwave day aged. You know, like they want it right away. You know, I was 18 years old making between $1,500 and $2,000 a week when haircuts were only $10. Now I know some guys you can't sit in a chair for less than $45. So my $300 to $500 I used to make every day, you know, literally could turn in now into $600, $700, $800 a day that guys can make literally cutting hair with all of the extra services and everything. You know what I'm saying? So so they want quick, fast, in a hurry, and then they don't know what to do with it. That's why within my curriculum in my schools, you know, I teach them how to write resumes. I teach them how to start their own corporations and how to pay taxes and do vision boards and do things that's going to help them to climb. I tell them, you know, you won't be able to achieve. Like I'm a dog with these clippers. I'm sorry.
Come on.
I'm one of the best in the world. So, you know, this little 12, 13, 14 months that you go be with me, you know, you can hang up trying to catch me not even in 5 or 10 years on the cutting side. So focus on succeeding. I'm not saying don't become the best you can be as it relates to your skills. But I think the biggest, because you can be the best barber in the world, but if your character can handle you being great, you'll always be late every day. Or, you know, instead of you drinking or smoking your blunt when you get home, you know, you're going to do it on lunchtime. Or it's just so many different things that cause us to not be successful. But then you have people on the outside who see that and they talk about it like, that's not a real job. But yeah, but the same person who says it's not a real job got to come to me to get a service. So you can say what you want to say. It is a real job. It's economy proof. And I don't care how bad the economy get, we are going to be able to make money. Simple as that.
Absolutely.
Right. And Larry, with all that you just said, you just recently purchased a van for your Peoria facility.
Okay.
So talk to us about the reopening of your barber school in Peoria.
So I have the barber school in Peoria. That will be opening soon because I changed locations. I'm just waiting for the state to do their due diligence. But I have a day reporting center in Peoria. So I have a state program where the state mandates, they mandate youth to me. So we have to, my company, that foundation, day reporting center, we drop off the youth, we pick the youth up, we have to feed them breakfast, we have to feed them lunch. I do free GED programs. We have a clinical therapist that comes to them, and pretty much just helping to kind of keep the juvenile, keep the young men and women out of trouble, out of the way. And that's one of the ways I landed up in the Illinois Department of Juvenile Justice. I'm in 2 of those locations here in Illinois, where I have a barber and cosmetology school in those locations. So it's kind of like a correlation. So I was just with the governor two months ago, I believe, where we did graduation, and the governor came. So I'm the first and only accredited program inside of a state facility. And I do those for free as well, you know, because I feel like if we catch them when they're young, you know, hopefully they won't go to the county and go to Stateville and so on and so forth. So I'm just trying to cover all bases, because I just kind of want to do, you know, I want to do what I feel like I can do. And I feel like if there was more of me out there, you know, that do what they can do, then I think that we would solve the issue. Because these young men and women out here that's shooting and killing each other, you know, they don't go outside and say, I'm shooting somebody because I want to die, or, you know, I want to do something heinous because I want to go to jail. I don't think that they're thinking like that, but I think that they're exhausted on, what am I going to do? You know, I got out of jail. I got out of jail, so I want to do something different, but y'all won't let me because I have a criminal background. So what do you expect me to do except for go back to what it is I know, whether they're selling drugs, cracking cards, doing bad checks, whatever that looks like, they going back to what they know, and they're going back to their communities. You know what I'm saying?
Larry, I think that, or I believe, because you're giving a blueprint that's so valuable and critical, I think when people know better, they can do better. And when they have an example of this leadership, you are really a mighty man of valor. When Angie initially said, I want to bring Larry on, and I was like, I remember, you know, Larry's Barber College, but who knew behind the scenes all these wonderful things that you're doing? And you're creating a blueprint for other young men and women to strive for excellence and do the same thing that you're doing. So by your example, you're going to open the floodgates to help everybody and shift the culture, not just in Illinois, but around the world. And we have comments coming in from different supporters now saying wonderful things like, we need more mighty men like Larry in our community. God bless you. We appreciate you. So thumbs up from the lovely ladies of Late Night, for real. 100%.
Absolutely.
100%. Absolutely.
And one of the things I want to point out about that I love about his organization is that, you know, and I tried to get as many young men to watch the show tonight because I thought it was very important for them to understand what this young man is doing. The one thing that he has set up through his organization is that these young people can get funding through his organization to actually attend one of his schools. So Larry, I want you to touch on that a little bit.
Okay.
So we have Title IV, just like a regular 4-year university.
Okay.
It's a fight to be able to get that, but you know, thank God I was able to weather the storm and, you know, get through those processes in order to have Title IV like a reg. So people can fill out FAFSA. You know, I have dormitory housing where they have a housing allowance. I have transportation, so I have shuttle buses and vans and all of those things. So I just kind of wanted to cover all bases, so to speak. So if people are interested, they're able to go to my website and fill out their FAFSAs. And, you know, we start classes every month, and I got financial aid at all of my locations here in Illinois, so they can choose whatever location they would like to go to.
Right. For those that apply and qualify. And I want to point out something else that's really important that you're doing. You have accredited colleges. These aren't just not fly by night. Accreditation is very important.
Yes, it is.
So, you know, that's important for these young people to understand. When you get your degree from one of Larry's barber colleges, it's going to take you far.
Okay.
It's going to take you far because it's an accredited school. It's not, you know, and you have to go through the U.S. Department of Education to become accredited.
Yes, you do.
So that's very important for these young people to know, Larry. I'm so proud of you. I wanted to just switch gears a little bit and talk about a few fun facts.
Okay.
Kind of mentioned it a little bit about how you are the barber to the stars. Larry actually does an event in Vegas every year, and unfortunately, because of COVID, he hasn't been able to do it. But he does an event where he has a barber suite, and he has all these artists, these gospel artists, to come in. And I had the privilege to be able to sit there and be able to watch him cut these barbers' hair. And they won't allow anyone else to cut their hair. They set appointments with Larry. They call him. But Larry is so humble. He allowed me to sit in and talk to these guys. So I had the privilege and the honor to be able to sit and have a conversation with Mr. Marvin Sapp. This man took off his rings and let me put them on my fingers.
Oh, wow. That must have been exciting.
Yes, but I will
love
tell
Marvin Sapp.
Larry is so humble, and he does things with such humility and grace, and I really appreciate everything that you want to do. The other fun fact about Larry is that he is the minister of music. I still call him minister of music, Larry. For the New Life Covenant Church, Pastor John F. Hanna. Yes. He's also the minister of music for that. So, I just wanted to point out those few fun facts about you, Larry. I love you to death. I will support everything that you do. Anytime you need me. So you know that I'm here for you. So I also, I don't know if you ladies have any more questions for him. Okay, go ahead, Maya.
So since this is like Team Chicago, well, not me.
Right.
I'm the suburbanite in the group. I gotta ask you, Larry, Cubs or Sox?
Cubs.
The Bulls when Michael Jordan was playing.
I like how you just totally railroaded that conversation. Good answer, though. Good answer. Second question. I always feel like people from Chicago always have to rep their high school. Where'd you go to high school?
I don't rep my high school. I went to Rich Central High School in Olympia Fields, Illinois. I hate the suburbs. Everybody knows I hate the suburbs.
We
talked about that. Easy with language, Larry. Easy with language.
Larry, I'm gonna have to see if my son want to enroll in your college then, because he went to Rich South. Y'all got to recognize each other. Recognize.
All right. Good stuff. I had to bring a little Chicago conversation in because you Chicago people love to do that kind of stuff. So I had to.
Oh yeah.
Well, Larry, I want to thank you so much for coming on the Ladies of Late Night. I just have a few things that I wanted to point out. If anyone has any questions about Larry's programs, about any of his barber colleges, or any of their family members that want to attend, they can actually email him at larrysbarbercollege.com. If you would love to donate to this organization, you can text 773-530-3999. You can also go to his website at www.datafoundationinc.org, or you can cash app at $Data Foundation INC.
Okay. So you can rewatch the Lovely Ladies of Late Night, because we have it scrolling right at the bottom of the screen.
And click like and click share.
Like and subscribe.
So Larry, thank you so much. I love you so much. Thank you for coming on the show. We appreciate everything that you're doing for our Black men and our youth in the community.
Yes.
Keep doing what you're doing. Stay humble, and I love you.
Thank you. I love you. Thank you, ladies, for having me.
Thank you, Larry. We appreciate it.
Good evening.
Wait, I have a comment, Larry. Someone wanted to know, are you cutting people's hair that are not of color? Do you cut all hair types?
What did I tell y'all about me and these clippers?
He's a master barber.
Master. Did you hear the man?
What he said was he has kitty cat skills. So that means he can cut everybody's hair.
I don't need no clippers. I can cut hair with a razor and some shears. And
come on now.
I told you, cat precision.
I can use the design now, Larry.
I tell you, he's got kitty cat precisions. He said dogs. But if you cut hair, you got kitty cat precision.
I love it. Yeah. I love it.
And Larry, your cousin, Denise Arnold said she loves you. I don't know if you. She said she wanted to let you know. She loves you, Larry.
Thank you, Denise. I love you too, Denise.
I love Denise Arnold. I'm so honored she's watching the show.
Yes.
I love her. I love her. Thank you. Thank you so much, Larry. We will have you back on again, definitely, to see what's going on. And it's just phenomenal. I'm blown away about you offering dormitories. Because that's half the battle for people. If they don't have a place to lay their head, they can't get up and move forward. So
yeah, because we have the veterans too. So we have the GI Bill. So
nice.
One of the things, homelessness. So yeah. Thank you, ladies.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed that. Angie.
You
that
are so welcome.
Interview.
Absolutely. We need to make sure we support people that have these type of organizations in the community. I mean, they're reaching out and helping our youth and our African-American men and our African-American youth, trying to prevent them from going to the jails. Mm-hmm. So, not only does he, I'm sorry, guys, I'm just trying to fix my earring. Not only is he in the jails, he actually ministers to these young people and the adults. He always have an encouraging word for them. So we want to definitely make sure that we support him. So let's try to put the information on the screen before the show is over so people can actually donate.
Yes. It was scrolling. It was scrolling. The producers had it scrolling while he was speaking.
I know. I've seen it. I just want to make sure in case they missed that information, get it again at the end of the show.
Most definitely. All right. Let's jump into the hot topics, everybody. I'm so excited. This is the anniversary. Did you all know that? The anniversary of 1921 and the Oklahoma Massacre, which is also known as Black Wall Street. I'm excited about this because when I actually saw it, I said, Maya is going to have something really insightful to say, being our historian in the group. We're on the 100th anniversary. I'm sorry. We're on the 100th anniversary of the Tulsa Race Massacre. Descendants say that the legacy of the injustice that actually continues today is something that's prevalent in our community and people should know about it. I actually, it brought tears to my eyes to hear about how Black Wall Street was such a thriving economic community, and it was just wiped out, a massacre. And it's still, unfortunately, things to that nature are going on still today. And that's why we have all of these groups and different focuses. How do you all feel about that as far as a hot topic?
Maya, we'll let you.
It's that kind of thing, unfortunately. Like, this is the part of African-American history that has been pushed to the side. There's a focus on slavery. What people don't realize when we went into Reconstruction, and this is a Reconstruction period, it wasn't we're not just talking about Tulsa. Remember the movie Rosewood? We're talking about multiple communities throughout the U.S. where African Americans were thriving and didn't ask. By the way, they didn't get the 48 years in the mule they were promised, but they were still thriving. And it's so sad because this has been omitted from history books. And what's interesting is there's a lot of documentaries going on. Actually, local CBS Chicago did a great coverage of it.
Yes.
So some people actually migrated to Chicago hoping they could emulate what they had done in Tulsa with no real success to that degree. But it was called a riot and not a massacre because it allowed insurance companies to not pay out on claims for the destruction that they experienced. Right. But the thing about Tulsa that goes back beyond this is that this goes back to 1919, which was called the Red Summer, where there were the most lynchings in the United States of African Americans historically than ever had happened. These are the things that have been omitted from history books. So people always say things like, oh, just get past slavery. It's like, excuse me, this isn't just about slavery. Nobody ever looks at Jewish people and say, forget the Holocaust.
Right.
We're talking about something that starts in 1619 and in 1919. But do you realize we're only 57 years out of segregation?
57 years.
That's it. And our history is just finally emerging of, you're talking about the ability that we could have had generational wealth based on what some of our ancestors were doing. And that was taken away from us. And that's the conversation this country doesn't want to have. Real talk.
Well, and they don't.
I'm sorry, Sean. What I find that is amazing that you have survivors.
Yes.
From that time period where they can actually tell their stories today.
Yes.
And we don't necessarily have to read it in the history books and guess what happened. They physically were there to be able to be here today to tell their story. So I was impressed by that. I was impressed by that.
They're like 105, 107. And if you ever wanted to lobby for reparations, guess what? You have people who are living who can tell the story of why it's rightfully owed.
Right. I wasn't able to watch the whole thing, but one of the women that had experienced some things, she said, you know, she can still right now today at 100 years old, still smell the burning flesh and see the bodies hanging from the trees. So I was definitely in tears, and unfortunately I wasn't able to continue to watch it because, you know, I was working at the time. But, you know, we really need to understand what our ancestors went through.
I would tell everybody.
And you know what?
Can I just say this before you say it?
Go ahead.
The Equality Museum that was created is worth everyone going for a visit to, because it's a lynching memorial. And I did it 3 summers ago with my father. And when I told you how overwhelmed I was and walking through this memorial where it's literally, it's by state and by county. So if you know your family origins, you can look up to see perhaps if somebody in your family was lynched and it has their date of birth.
Yes.
It is so sombering and it's so overwhelming. I was so taken aback. I had to sit down a couple times because it was so overwhelming to see children, women, men who had been lynched just because of who they were.
My girlfriend told me about that, Stephanie. What were you saying, LaShonda?
No, I was just saying that's why our history is so important. That's why it angers me when I hear people say, well, I ain't going to vote because who cares? It doesn't count. But look at what we went through to even get that right. They didn't even want to recognize Blacks as people. How can you not recognize me as a person? You know, and to go through all of this and to see all the things that we've survived, for you not to want to exercise your freedoms that we did not have just a little while ago. Really, it was a little while ago. It angers me, you know, because we always stifle the Black culture in our history. Oh, don't worry about slavery. It's okay. Y'all got over it. You know, it's like brush it to the side when it comes to our topics. But when there's other cultures, let's talk about Latino freedoms and independence days. Let's talk about, you know, Jewish. Let's talk about, you know, all the other cultures that have been through things. But when it comes to African Americans, it's more like, oh, well, that's not, because they're going to get angry. But this is something we need to know. And if the kids nowadays in this millennium generation really knew, I think it'll be such more of an understanding, you know?
Probably less resistance, because this is 100 years. This Monday marks the 100 years of the actual massacre. And, you know, biblically it says our people perish for lack of knowledge. So if we educate ourselves and we make ourselves aware of the struggles and the strife that our ancestors went through, we could move forward to create more peace and love and harmony, you know, on a day-to-day basis. I will say that my friend Stephanie told me about this, how you could go and actually view the bodies hanging. Me personally, it would be way too much. Mentally and psychologically, I'm not prepared to address that. Or to actually see it.
It's a lot to see, and it's a lot to take in.
It is.
And if you're not strong enough to handle it, I honestly don't suggest it, to be honest.
Angie, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
It's not. I mean, I went to the African American Museum in Cincinnati, Ohio, and when you walk in the door, there's a bunch of pictures on the wall. So one of the pictures was a few gentlemen picking cotton, and they were smiling. And I started crying, and people couldn't understand why I was crying. Well, I remember the conversations with my great grandmother about how when they would pick cotton, their fingers were all, you know, bruised, and you know, my grandfather would wrap my great grandmother's hands up because her hands would be so raw. So when I walked in and I seen these pictures, it just set the precedent for the whole tour, that I'm like, our history is not being told correctly. I don't understand why they had pictures of them smiling when they were miserable out there in heat, you know, picking cotton. So, you know, you definitely have to be strong and be able to handle it, because I'm telling you, to see it in person is not a good picture.
That's unfortunate that museum is like that, because actually the Civil Rights Museum that opened in Mississippi is really well done. It's actually interactive, so you can sit in the back of a bus, a wagon. It's really interactive
and have that experience.
But I think what people miss is that what you're seeing in The New Jim Crow, which is a book everybody should read.
Yeah.
The fact that incarceration actually began in Jim Crow, because the rule was that it was called the vagrant law. And if you couldn't find work, you could then be incarcerated. Well, ask yourself a question. Technically, Black women could find work, but Black men really couldn't. And they were incarcerated. But the caveat to that is you had major corporations who made money off of their labor. This is a history that's been omitted. And it's interesting because for those of, I hate to say this, there's a lot of us that don't know our history.
Right.
So I'm gonna flat out tell you, there's a whole bunch of white people who don't know it either, because it's not in history books. But it's not taught to us either. You had to come from a family who wanted to educate you about this.
Right.
Or you went to school. I have a minor in African American history. When I got to Iowa, I took so many classes, I was immersed in it. I was like, this is crazy. This information is so hidden. But the reason we are where we are right today is because this history has been omitted. And everybody assumes where we are is by design. And I don't think people understand that.
Right.
And it's also, like you say, on us to take ownership and educating ourselves. And I want to do that by sharing some insightful information or some PSAs. We have to keep putting announcements out so we can make people aware of what's going on and the resources that are available to them.
Absolutely.
Let's take a listen.
Hi, I'm Terry Bradshaw. Like many of you, I took the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge back in the summer of 2014. It was cold and it was a lot of fun. But there's nothing fun about ALS. It robs a person of their ability to walk, to talk, and to eventually breathe. It's also fatal, usually within a few years, and is emotionally and financially devastating to thousands of families across America. It's truly a brutal and nasty disease. But we're making progress thanks to many of you. Since the Ice Bucket Challenge, we've seen new ALS genes discovered, new technology developed that helps people with ALS, and new potential treatments in the pipeline. We still have a lot of work to do. I'm no scientist, but I can tell you this: if we can cure ALS, we can cure anything. Please join me in the fight against ALS.
Sometimes I sleep under the bridges, sometimes in cardboard boxes. Yeah. They're the best, man.
I used to be in a shelter, but I haven't been in one in a while because I don't drink and I don't do drugs anymore. And that's where most of the kind of crowd is, in a shelter.
I can't get a job here or here or here. I can't have any apartments because they won't accept felons. And I even went through an agency that took felons, and they'll give a pedophile an apartment before they will me because I had a drug charge. I wasn't even dealing drugs, I had possession.
I mean, I've been to a lot of interviews, and they look me up and down and just say, we'll call you, leave a number. How am I supposed to leave a number if I ain't got a phone?
And just the hard part was just becoming part of society again. It's like they didn't want me. They didn't want me to be part of their society anymore.
I mean, it's emotional. I'm trying to get my life together. Don't give you any reason to call me a bum. No matter what people say to me, I remember I'm a human first.
Right now, the COVID-19 vaccines are available to millions of Americans, and soon they will be available to everyone.
This vaccine means hope. It will protect you and those you love from this dangerous and deadly disease.
I want to go back to work, and I want to be able to move around.
To visit with Michelle's mom, to hug her and see her on her birthday.
You know what I'm really looking forward to is going to opening day in Texas Ranger Stadium with a full stadium.
We've lost enough people, and we've suffered enough damage.
In order to get rid of this pandemic, it's important for our fellow citizens to get vaccinated.
I'm getting vaccinated because we want this pandemic to end as soon as possible.
So we urge you to get vaccinated when it's available to you.
So roll up your sleeve and do your part.
This is our shot. Now it's up to you.
Now, ladies, the biggest controversy of the 2021 French Open came to an end on Monday with Naomi Osaka's withdrawal. The debate was around a four-time Grand Slam champ, which figures to continue for the reasons unknown. Well, they were not known, but they were known. She did want to participate in being a part of the Grand Slam because she didn't want to have conversations with the media and talk to them, answer questions. So she actually did a withdrawal. She said she's refusing to speak with the media. This is a choice of hers because of her concerns around mental health. Now, this situation has sparked a loud conversation because the mental health of athletes and the roles of the media in professional sports seem to be conflicting. How do you all feel about that? Do you think she was wrong for withdrawing?
Listen, everyone knows the pressure on a major athlete. These people are getting paid millions and millions of dollars. So do you think someone's going to pay you $1 million and say, well, be okay? No, it's a lot of stress. It's a lot of training. It's a lot of physical restraints you have to have. And then on top of that, then you have your family situations going on in route of you training and prepping for whatever event it is coming up. So it's always been, if you look even back, let's start off in high school. When I was in high school, those guys, it looks like fun and games to me because I wasn't involved in the sports aspect of it. But when they would come and they like dirty and sweaty, that's training. That's a mental training you have to do. It's a discipline you have to do on top of your schoolwork. Now you have to go practice for 4 or 5 hours in the heat, in the cold, whatever the sport is that you're doing. So that it takes a toll on you. And then if you make one mistake, then people sort of look at you as if to say, oh, look, you know, like you're some inhuman person that doesn't make mistakes. And the thing about it is that's what puts the pressure on people because they feel like, oh, if I mess up or if I do this, it's going to be a hindrance. But they are people as well. And if she decided, listen, this is getting to be too much for me, because a lot of athletes suffer with depression. They have bouts of some of them have attempted suicide because it's a lot. And when you get in the realm of getting paid for it, it's even greater. So I can only imagine how she must feel. And the fact that I like the fact that Serena came out to say, I just want to give her a hug. I understand. Yeah. You know, the support. I like that support of your fellow athlete, you know. We need more of that.
Serena actually did say that she wants her just to be okay. So at the height of it, even though this is the Grand Slam, the French Open, she just walked away from it. What do you think, Maya?
You know, it's a complicated conversation because this is one of the things that has that generational reflection. Michael Jordan isn't walking away from a championship. He's not. But mind you, it's also a team sport. I'm a mental health person being very honest about this. Serena and Venus were under extreme scrutiny.
Yeah.
But the difference that people don't realize is initially their father was their coach.
I was just about to say that.
So that support. What's different about Naomi is that she's battling a couple different things. She has to battle the identity issue of being Haitian and Japanese. And let's be honest, people won't say it, but Japan didn't really embrace her until she started winning. And then people are like, then people get real interested, like, oh, yeah. But real talk, it's like the Greek freak. Greece was not interested, and he's not even Greek, but that's another story.
Okay, right.
So the bottom line comes down to she had a lot of different things to navigate, and she comes from a culture where honor and loyalty is huge. People commit suicide in Japanese culture when they fail.
Yes.
Wow.
Absolutely.
So I get the fact that she was often struggling. She doesn't do good on clay. In the French Open, Roland Garros is clay. And so there was this scrutiny, and there was the extra scrutiny if you don't do good on clay, but then she also happens to be a person of color and the spotlight. By the way, Coco Gauff is moving to the third round.
Right.
Black girl out of Atlanta, moving third round. But she also has that foundation of her family. And I'm not saying that Naomi doesn't have family, but she has a different dimension. So I'm okay with her withdrawing, and I'm actually okay with the Tennis Association finding her because you have to do it. It's fair.
Well,
Yeah.
okay.
And then you stand your ground to say, we will address mental health because it's real. So there's a balance to it. I don't have a problem with her walking away, and she's getting more and more support to it to bring that spotlight to mental health and how athletes struggle just like everybody else. But people make the assumption that they're mere gods, and they're not. And they struggle like everybody else. And if you don't have the proper support, and I don't know what she was doing for treatment before this happened. I have no idea if she was really addressing her depression or if she was just trying to navigate it on her own. I have no idea. But I'm perfectly okay with her decision. And here's the thing. She doesn't need anybody's approval for it to be okay. She doesn't.
Yeah. Or validation.
Kudos to her parents for recognizing or work-life balance. She's a child. She doesn't need that type of pressure. And I'm sure the parents understand what Venus and Serena went through. And they don't want to see their child go through it. You know, so kudos to her parents for that, for not allowing her to keep going. And she's stressed, you know. She said her mental health is being affected. That's it. That's all. I mean, who cares who doesn't understand that?
Sure.
Right. Well, I think as all of us have mentioned it, the fact that they're just shedding a light on it. We're shedding a light. So now maybe if people who weren't aware that athletes are struggling to have the performance, to be producers, that this is going to open a conversation or open a threshold to take a look behind the scenes and maybe say, okay, you need a mental health professional, you need someone you need to talk to, tell them about the assistance programs that are out there to help them during this. Mental health seems like it's not just a mental health awareness month. This needs to be a movement and a lifestyle, you know, and I think that for people in her generational area, she has shed a light on it because I had no idea. I was thinking initially, why was she not participating in the French Open? This is major for her. Why would she not? But she didn't want to face the scrutiny from these reporters because they really kind of attacked them. Like you say, if they didn't perform at the level, if they felt like something was off kilter, they come for them, and she just didn't want to address that. And that's better for her to do that instead of coming unraveled under the scrutiny of these questions that they would probably throw to her.
Absolutely.
Now, I learned something myself the other day about Memorial Day. I said every day or every year we celebrate Memorial Day. We're happy just to be off work for Memorial Day. I didn't understand the backdrop to Memorial Day.
Well, I was at work, but anyways.
Oh,
I was
sorry.
I mean, hospitals don't ever close. I hate to tell you that. We're there 24/7.
The emergency room.
The city closes. Sorry.
They say Memorial Day is the overlooked Black history of Memorial Day. And that on April 1865, the graves of Union soldiers were buried at the race course that turned Confederate prison, where historians believe the earliest Memorial Day ceremony took place. I had no idea that they actually unmasked all of these graves to celebrate and honor these men and women who were killed. This is the true story. This is something, again, that was left out of the history books. This was not covered in my Chicago public school.
Always.
No.
Right. It's always deleted when it's time to get some real facts, some Carfax, as they say. Then it's always think about it. It's always a paragraph this big, right? And it's so-and-so, such and such did this. They were great. Then you get a big old long paragraph about Columbus, 4-5 pages about Columbus. 4-5 chapters later, he come back in there, so it's always something that they don't want us to recognize, that they have been way before all the deaths we've been experiencing in the hands of the law enforcement. They have been killing us for years. It's just that now we have social media and people are filming and, it's more visual. When it was happening before, like the video when Rodney King had got assaulted, that just so happened somebody had a camera there. You know what I mean? That wasn't widespread. It was still happening then. You just did not see it. But now that things are coming,
talked about, it's not that they didn't see it; they seen it. This is nothing that's happening now is new. It's just that nobody wanted to talk about it. So now, because of Derek, this whole Derek Chauvin case, now it's out in the open now. So now people want to talk more about it. This stuff been happening for forever.
And that's what I said.
It's people not talking about it. And you know what? It's about time all this stuff is being brought out of the dark.
But here's the thing. It has to be in the forefront for them to even say anything. Think about this. If you run a light and that speeding, that the camera gets you speeding, they can show you doing all types of stuff in your car from the front, from the pictures. But the same person can commit a crime under that same light, and it's a cold case. We can't find them. How come the cameras only work when it's a traffic situation, but when it's a crime happening, all of a sudden we can't find the people. We don't have the tape. It
don't want to find them.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. It's like the things that they say are put in place to help with crime and to, you know, Big Brother's eye in the sky. Big Brother's eye only is in the sky when it's monetary benefits to Big Brother. That's when the camera work.
Now, I think you all, with this Memorial Day situation, with the veterans, they said over 620,000 soldiers died. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of people.
Yes.
To eradicate from the history books and not make that information known. Somebody said, well, do you even know what Memorial Day is about? And when they went into telling me about this being almost America's deadliest conflict of the Civil War, mm-hmm. I was shocked.
Yeah,
most people don't know. I mean, that's how our history is not properly represented the way that it should be. It's his history, his story.
HIS. His.
It's not the story. It's
right.
His story. So hence, we shouldn't be surprised by what we are beginning to learn and the information that's being rolled out. And this is why we are now conflicted as a country, because history is being exposed and people are real uncomfortable with it.
Yeah,
really super uncomfortable. And I'm like, look, if you didn't do it, don't worry about it. The question is, what are we going to do to make it different? Look, you can't. Here's
nervous.
Look, this is like a simple. This is a really simple remedy. I can't hold you accountable for something that you didn't do. But if you keep perpetuating the system, we have a problem. I'm going to give you a prime example of this. When I see people who put on their Facebook page, I back the blue, that tells me that's a person who doesn't have good deductive reasoning. Because at the end of the day, all police officers clearly are not bad.
No, right.
That's true.
We know that. We know that they're not all bad.
No.
It's that small amount that think they're Steven Seagal. They think they're above the law. Is what it comes down to. And they do things that are heinous. By the way, if you watch BlacKkKlansman, you learned that people got smart and said, wait a minute, we got to start infiltrating positions of power. So Klan members went into like law enforcement. They went into politics.
Absolutely.
That's what they did to make their power move forward. My thing is like, if you tell me you back the blue, it's like, here's how this works. I'm not backing you if you on BS. I'm not. Mm-hmm. I'm going to call you out. But this is when the police are supposed to police a police. So when you know you have somebody within your respective circle who is corrupt, you remove that cancer. But they don't do it because it's a brotherhood. And you see where the brotherhood is gone. So when I say people who say back the blue, I'm like, look, see, now I know you won't BS, because that means you're not willing to be honest enough to say there are issues within this system. And you're too afraid. It takes courage to step forward and say, I know you on BS. I know plenty of police officers. And I can flat out tell you the ones I work with that I can tell you that I think are completely on BS. Mm-hmm. I can tell you it. And I know some that are golden, that are amazing, that are good people. I would never question what they do in their job. But my thing is that until we get an external review, which means police departments are not judged on their actions locally, that's when things will change. And it's not just even about Derek Chauvin. We should have been looking at Laquan McDonald, how that happened. He got shot like he was on safari.
Oh my gosh.
It doesn't take that many bullets to take down a bear. And then you have police officers who went to local places to get the videotape to take it away. That's corruption. Welcome to Chicago. That's corruption. So my thing is that you punish everybody involved, but I'm gonna do you one better than that. And this is exactly why I don't live in a city. And I'm not saying where I live that's better. You had aldermen when this case got brought to the table, who decided to pay the mother of McDonald, who really wasn't all that involved in his life, so to speak, to make it go away. So when your aldermen don't stand for justice, there is no peace.
Right.
And I'm talking about black people, flat out. I'm calling it like it is. You had black people who said, he wasn't worth nothing. Throw it off. Give her $500,000. It don't matter. That's called corruption. And this is why the system doesn't work, period. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's more than a notion, and it's a lot to fix, because we just named 2 people, but there have been countless others. Countless.
Rodney King blew me away when I saw that. I remember being in college and I was like, oh my goodness, how is that okay?
Exactly.
How's he still alive and in his right mind?
And then he ended up dying. He was so messed up after that. His life had there was no quality of life for him. He ended up, I think, drowning in a pool or something crazy. But there was no quality of life for him after that. But who didn't look at that? Here, okay. See, this is where rap music at one point had real narrative. When you heard NWA talking about blah, 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 there was a reason why they were talking about that.
Yeah.
They were giving you the insight that people just weren't seeing. But people thought, but you're criminal minded, so why would we believe you? And then you saw Rodney King, and they beat him down. Like, it was ridiculous. I was like, how is this ever okay?
I mean, he pops to the head.
He clearly wasn't okay after that. He was messed up after that. For real.
Well, could you imagine one day, nobody knows what from day to day what's going to happen. And could you imagine at the end of your day, you would have ever thought or contemplated that you would be attacked in such a savage way? You know, that's the same thing as when they get all of the boys on the corner for the drug selling. But then now we have all these dispensaries, this legal drug store, and they making millions off of that. But because they couldn't make millions off Pooh Chain and Ray Ray, they had to go to jail.
What they tell you, this, the best thing is by Childish Gambino. This is America.
This is America.
This is America. And oh, by the way, we're real conflicted right now, and I'm laughing at this. Like, really, we're gonna act like what you just did on January 6th wasn't a terrorist attack? No, it wasn't. It was patriots. When people say patriots to me, that equates to you being racist. I'm gonna tell you that flat out. When you say that, I'm like, you on some backward stuff. Because when you say that to me, I know what you're thinking.
Okay. And the opinions shared by Maya are those shared by Maya.
People know me. Look, I'm gonna be honest about this.
And not those of the lovely lady.
I'm gonna tell you this flat out. There are some things I absolutely can agree with people. Like, I don't align with a political party because I think they're both very obsolete. And there are some things that people, like, government has gone too far. It is too much. There are some legitimate things that I can see that I don't agree with, and I was born here. But you got people who have this tunnel vision about what they think is going on. Seriously.
Because, Maya, people cannot accept the racism. They can't accept the atrocities that are going on. So they rather walk through life with blinders and they don't see it. So they don't have to acknowledge it. Am I right about it?
Well, you're right. But it's also now we want to be selective about what an immigrant looks like because our new immigration is different than old immigration. But you know what's interesting is when they were trying to reconcile in the Statue of Liberty, the Hall of Immigration, they didn't know what to do with slavery. They had no idea what to do with it. They're like, well, that really wasn't immigration, but it's a different type of immigration. So now there's an issue with it. But at the same time, I'm gonna tell you something. Even within the issue of current immigration, I'm gonna tell you something. There are some issues. I'm not gonna lie and say there's not. There are some issues how we handle things.
And slavery is forced labor.
The truth. Come on, sister.
I'm gonna be honest. We handle things. I have been around the world. I'm gonna tell you something. I've never seen a country make the kind of concessions that we make for people. But yet we have people here who are starving, homeless. It's a problem. We are a fledgling nation, but yet we are expected to be the exceptional. And it makes no sense. It doesn't. So I'm not going to tell you that I don't think there's some real issues here. There is. But this is when you talk about being moderate, being liberal, and being conservative.
Ms. Maya, let me say this. I have said that for decades because if you go to France and you don't speak French, too bad, so sad. But here, if you call the phone, if you speak English, press 2. Wait a minute, that should be no option. It should be the first. It should be English right away. You know,
I'm gonna tell you what's crazy about that. I spent a ton of time in France because my dad worked in Switzerland for 13 years. So I spent a lot of time abroad. And the thing is, I got to meet Frenchmen who appreciate America because of what we did in World War II. They learned English because of when Americans came in and changed the whole narrative of what happened. And I got to really talk to these people. And here's my thought about this. And I can say this because I'm half Latino. I'm not moving nowhere and expecting anybody to accommodate me.
At all. How could you?
I'm gonna tell you this flat out, because within our respective country, it is our language that allows us to connect. And if we can't all speak it, we have a problem. But I'm willing to give people time to do it. But we make weird concessions, and this is why people are upset. Because we make weird concessions that just don't make sense. And we allow people to say, well, technically English is not the language on the books. Miss me with that.
My country tis.
Oh wow!
I'm gonna tell you something. So I'm not a white person, but I can tell you why white people are upset. Flat out, I get it. I absolutely get it. But you also have a right to be upset. And it isn't just about immigration. It's a whole bunch of stuff that ain't right. If you want to know the truth, it isn't just immigration.
So can we agree to disagree that this country and the world is the way it is, and we just have to navigate our own pieces and our own tunnel to try to make it better? Because I think it's okay to make concessions for people.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
It's okay. I'm not saying turn a blind eye to it, but
I'm not saying that either.
I think it's okay that we agree to disagree. This has been a hot topic and a hot button.
And a hot night.
And a hot night. But I want to thank everybody for tuning in to the lovely ladies of late night. I want to thank Angie, Maya, and Miss Platinum for being a part of the show. We send our love to Thea, who is on set and unable to be here this evening. And we want to thank Larry from Larry's Barber College for being on our show. Thanks again.